Hello and welcome to a new episode of Sports Khabri podcast. Today we are going to talk about a mega hockey carnival that is about to start in just 2 days. We are talking about the FIH Odisha Men's Hockey World Cup, which is starting on the 13th of January in Raurkela and Bhubaneswar. And I have a very special guest with me today, Pankaj Athawale, who is an all India radio commentator who specializes in cricket, kabaddi, but has also covered major hockey events such as the Junior Hockey World Cup and Commonwealth Games in the past. So, Pankaj, tell us a bit more about yourself.
Hi, Yashodhan. Thank you very much for inviting me on this podcast. And really, we all are absolutely excited. I am extremely excited to travel to Raurkela because I'll be covering the first two matches, the India games, India versus Spain and India versus England. And off late, of course, you are in Bhubaneswar. I have been traveling to Bhubaneswar, but this time, I'm not anxious, but I'm really excited to see how do I reach Raurkela, how when do I see the largest stadium in the world, and when does the action begin. So it's absolutely brilliant. I've been covering a lot of cricket for a long time now, and hockey gives me a different thrill altogether. So in fact, I've actually cancelled a lot of my cricketing assignments to get this thing, because the World Cup will be memorable. And of course, doing the live running commentary on radio is far more thrilling.
Definitely. And when you mentioned that the World Cup will be more thrilling this time, that's also because Bhubaneswar is the only city in the world to host two consecutive hockey World Cups. And
Right.
that's a rare sight but that's a very good thing that talks about Hockey India and the Odisha government because the facilities that they have, the stadiums, and you mentioned you are excited to see the new stadium in Raurkela. Tell us what have you heard about it because everyone's talking about it.
See, what I've heard about Rourkela is it's a steely, sporty, and a smart city. So the fun is, we should be really proud or at this particular moment. Every Indian has to be proud because remember, after dominating the hockey scene for decades, suddenly the change of turf pushed us
Yes.
back for many decades. But after 2000, probably we started coming back, and today, look at the dominance that the entire world is now traveling to Odisha, and Odisha has become the hub of international hockey. That is deja vu. That is coming back, and that is coming back with a punch, and that's what really sets you off. And the kind of situation that we are looking at Raurkela, because Bhubaneswar in itself has a fantastic atmosphere for hockey. Now,
Yes.
I am looking forward whether that will be replicated, not just replicated, will it be doubled, tripled in Raurkela? And that's what I'm looking at. And इसीलिए मैंने कुछ लिख दिया है, मन में आया मेरे यशोधन, कि मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि जीतने वर्ल्ड कप आई है हरमनप्रीत की टोली. ओके, जीतने
Wow.
वर्ल्ड कप आई है हरमनप्रीत की टोली. 1975 के बाद क्या भरेगी हमारी झोली? मलेशिया से उड़ीसा तक किया है हमने इंतजार. अब तो हॉकी की नैया लगा दो आर पार. कम ऑन इंडिया, ये है इंडिया का खेल. लेट्स डू इट बॉयज.
Definitely. Wow. This was a really great piece that you've written. And it is rightful that a place like Raurkela deserves a stadium because Raurkela is in the Sundargarh district. And
Right.
Sundargarh has given India such gems of hockey players throughout India's history. I mean, now even our vice captain Amit Rohidas, who is the world's best first rusher when it comes to penalty corner defense, he comes from there. And Sundargarh just keeps giving. It's such a beautiful district, and they deserved a stadium like this.
Absolutely, and Yashodhan, you are right on the money, because what happens is this is the perfect model that the world needs to follow. Odisha, what they're doing for hockey, not just Indian hockey, but how it's sort of kind of going down, right, germinating, cultivating people. And Sundargarh, as you mentioned, is fantastic. I was talking to one of my friends about Raurkela, that I'll be traveling, so he helped me a lot when I was there in Bhubaneswar. He said Raurkela, boss, is the hub of hockey in Odisha. So I was like, okay, let's now, that set me off to another level. Okay, I need to get to the city as soon as possible.
In fact, what I heard is the Honorable Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik. It's his vision to bring back hockey to India. They've now they are now going to inaugurate 17 new hockey astroturfs in the Sundargarh and Sambalpur district of Odisha. 17. I mean, that would help our
Oh,
grassroots programs for decades.
absolutely, and this reminds me of an interaction with the women's hockey team a couple of years back in Pune. Rani Rampal was there. In fact, Navjot, Navneet, all of them were there. And I was talking to them about how y'all have come through. How when you all travel abroad, how do you think? I was
Yes.
asking them which are the teams that y'all kind of fear or y'all like to fight it out. They said, Pankaj, yaar, simple si baat hai. When we go to Netherlands, there is a astroturf or a half or a quarter astroturf in every backyard. In India, we have this
Yeah.
problem. We need more things, and I think the honorable chief minister just heard that interview and probably heard those girls and said, "Ki enough is enough now. Let's put it now across to all the boys and girls." And the fact is, the initiative taken by the government of India, Hockey India, and the honorable chief minister of Odisha is being complemented well by the people out there. That's the biggest
Yes.
outcome and the impact of this entire exercise.
Definitely. And when you talk about the people, I think they have definitely complemented this entire vision, and they've shown the results by selling out every single match in Raurkela. You were
Really,
talking
that's
about,
awesome.
yes, and it's not just the Indian, and it's not just the Indian matches, it's all the matches. And that is a sight to behold. I mean, I'm excited for you because you are going to be in the stadium amongst 20,000 people. When has
So
hockey seen such a huge crowd?
exactly, and I'm already preparing Yashoda. I'm actually preparing some phrases in my mind that the crowd goes in a frenzy. India take the lead. I mean, that I want to repeat this again and again.
Definitely. We would all love to hear that on radio, on TV, everywhere we can. In fact, today I was talking to one of the players here and he said, we've been practicing silently because
Yeah.
we know hockey, you need to communicate while playing hockey. But Australia have been practicing silent games because they know that their voice won't be able to reach their teammate amongst the 20,000 fans. And
Absolutely. And yes, and you mentioned about Australia. They are really one of the very toughest customers around
yes,
here. In fact, Belgium, Australia, and even Germany, for that matter, are going to
yeah,
really give a run for their money to every team, including India. And then there's Netherlands. So it's a terrific thing. And you mentioned about Australia. I just came to my mind. I was watching the movie Chuck Day. So the technical delegate, Joshua Burt, was the guy who is the technical in fact, delegate here at this particular World Cup. He was the guy who played the role of the Aussie girls coach in that
oh
movie.
wow.
So, I mean, it just comes around from everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you get to meet him because he's not just an FIH technical delegate. He's an actor in the probably the most famous
Yeah,
sports movie in Indian history. So,
right.
talking about Australia and all the favorites that you mentioned, who do you think will win the World Cup? Because everyone's talking about Australia, but come on, India. We have to talk about India and the work that our boys have put in.
जी देखिए यहाँ पर ये मैं कहूंगा कि दिल और दिमाग दोनों इंडिया कह रहा है मुझे दिल और दिमाग दोनों इंडिया कह रहा है because I think 2018 was a time when we were expecting India to do really very well but it didn't happen and the
Yeah.
way India has bounced back in 2021 2022 Tokyo games and that growth has been very steady under Graham Greene. And that just gives you the entire idea that top three, India definitely has to be there. They finished sixth, of course, last time. But Australia, the Socceroos, no, the Hockeyroos, sorry, as they call them, the Hockeyroos,
It's the Hockey Roos is the women's team. It's the
women's
Kookaburras for the men's team.
Kokaburas, yeah. I mean, so
Yes.
the Kokaburas, as they call them, and they are definitely going to be tough customers. But Belgium,
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, they did win 2018 World Cup, they did win the Olympic gold, but they seem to be slightly sort of the peak and sort of they are like sort of
Yeah.
stagnating. That's a feeling. But again, on the field, they are really very dangerous. Germany can be a tough customer to handle because they are really very difficult. But what Graham Reed, I remember, seeing him and watching him say that India has suddenly come up with a very aggressive brand of hockey, which
Yes.
mixed up with a bit of artistry and a bit of speed. That has made India play a very lethal combination of hockey. And I think India will definitely be one of the favorites as the group stages go on. Of course, in the knockouts, you really can't do much about it because because it's that
Yeah.
day what happens. But I feel India seems to have a lot of things under control.
Definitely. And when you talk about Graham Reed and how he's implemented an attacking brand of hockey, I have an interesting stat for you. In the last FIH Pro League, India
Huh?
scored about 60 goals, I think, in 16 games, which is, wow, those numbers are insane. Uh,
Exactly, and that just goes to show the kind of tactics Graham Reed has been implementing, the rolling
yeah,
substitutions, and what I've generally seen over the last few years in the Indian camp, the first two quarters have a different combination of forwards, and then suddenly there's a
yeah.
change. Lalit Upadhyay goes up somewhere, somebody Shamsher goes up, so that is really a very very nasty thing to do for the towards the opponents. But India is doing it very very nicely.
I think the rule of rolling substitutions has ensured that fans will have fun during all the 60 minutes because there's no drop in intensity at all. You've got new forwards coming in, scoring goals, having those incredible 3D skills. I mean, you have to talk about that.
But
And
but
Indians
that
are
puts
so skillful.
yeah, but that puts a lot of pressure on us as commentators, huh, because we have to keep a track of so many things with the rolling substitutions. I'll tell you, it's a big challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I live tweet matches for my social media, and 1 second I'm talking about Harmanpreet, and the next he's out, he's sitting on the bench, and I'm like, "Kaha gaya?" That's the question.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, so moving on, let's talk about the four groups. So 16 teams have qualified for the World Cup with two debutants, Chile and Wales. So
Right.
The Chile women last year made their debut at the Women's World Cup, and rightfully so, the men's also followed suit. I'm hoping that they also give us memorable moments like the women's team did. But let's start with Group A first. It's
Okay.
Australia, Argentina, France, and South Africa. What a power packed group.
This is a dangerous group. Yashodhan, you mentioned about Chile. We'll talk about that. But before coming to even Argentina and Australia, Timothy is a friend of yours, if I'm not mistaken, from the French team.
Sadly, he's not in the main 18. He's come here, but he's a traveling reserve. And
Yes, but he
that's a
was the captain
shame.
of the junior team. Yeah, he was the captain of the junior team
Yes.
that came here last year, and he was unbelievable. I don't know why they're not playing him, but France can actually spring a surprise because in the past few years, France probably has been sort of improving in their hockey
Yeah.
very very quickly, and they can give either Argentina a bit of run of their money because Argentina suddenly has also sort of stagnated. When we saw them at the Tokyo Games, also they have a lot of senior players
Yeah.
just like Spain probably had at Tokyo. But Australia, all the way, definitely they shouldn't really have a problem in that particular group.
Yeah. In fact, France and Argentina, that reminds me, the FIFA World Cup. We have a rematch in
Ah!
hockey.
Oh, that would be very interesting. And really, I mean, so many analogies, so many things happening together. Probably France can then take
Yeah.
some badla or something like that.
In fact, France's captain, Victor Charlotte, said, I spoke to the French football team, some member of the French football team, and he said, I'll take your badla. So let's see. And I think in the last World Cup, they were grouped together, and France beat Argentina even last time, shocked the world. And France, in fact, have a better winning record against Argentina in hockey, which is a surprise considering they are
Yes,
not traditionally a hockey nation, but they are building towards their biggest goal, which is the Paris Olympics. As
correct.
hosts, they want to do better. And
And also their junior team has helped them get a lot of good players, which has
yes,
steadily improved their performance. And in fact, France has displayed a very good fitness level amongst a
yeah.
lot of European nations, which has really helped them in the last few matches.
That's very true. I mean, I watched a training session of France and Japan yesterday, and the French players were 6 feet 4, 6 feet 5. They're physically so well built. But
Yeah.
we are missing out on probably the underdogs of the group, South Africa, who
Hmm.
recently won the Nations Cup at their home stadium in Johannesburg. And they, in fact, beat France and made their way back to the FIH Pro League. They were incredible in the Commonwealth Games. Their goalkeeper, Govan Jones, was so good against India that after the match, he earned a lot of Indian followers on social media.
Yes, that's true. And in fact, it is quite surprising because South Africa was sort of a decent, average kind of a team
Yeah,
for quite some time. But off late, they are doing well. And you know what has happened is this entire Junior World Cup exercise that they had here in Odisha has really helped them because their junior team did come down last time, which was captained by Morgan, the guy Morgan. That's the name of the captain. And the entire team was pretty interesting. I need to see how many players from that particular pool have now graduated up. But in France and South Africa, what they have done is that they have suddenly improved the fitness levels of the entire squad,
yeah.
which has really helped them play a bit more aggressive, and that's why probably they're achieving some really very good results.
In fact, I would tell you to keep an eye out on the Kassim brothers. They are
Aha.
Dan and Mustafa. They are incredible. They are rapid. And as a commentator, I hope you're not commentating the South Africa game because Mustafa Kassim just sprints like anything. You cannot catch him.
No, no, don't challenge me. I'm good at that. Let's have a face off between me and Mustafa. That'd be fantastic. Let my voice go and let him go. That'd be really fantastic. But you know, radio commentary is always very thrilling because you got to keep an eye on
Yeah,
everything and try and get as much as detail as possible. And it's a very sort of a challenging thing because you know I remember a lot of broadcasters keep on asking us how hockey can be made a bit more easier because you know hockey is very
yeah.
technical, very rapid, very fast, but I mean, it's a challenge. You know, you really cannot make it very, very simple. But that's the beauty of the game.
And it is a beautiful game, but somehow there have been a lot of changes to the rules and it keeps updating every year. So it gets difficult. And the players obviously have to learn the rules, but us as commentators, fans, and journalists, we also have to keep up with them. And sometimes it is difficult.
You know something? You just caught me on the wrong foot. I even today, I naturally say carried to a foot foul. Very naturally, because my good old days, we used to say
Yeah.
carried, carried, carried. But you know, I mean, these are the changes that we keep on sort of implementing, understanding. But you know, it just happens.
Yeah, but FIH are making the game faster, stronger, and it's fun to see how
Yeah, yeah.
hockey is developing. And talking about fun, I have to come to Group B because there is the European big clash between Germany and Belgium. They also are joined by the two Asian giants, Japan and South Korea. So it's like a European Asian combo in Group B. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a very interesting group. Japan sort of have been the samurais have been a bit maverick because if you
Yeah.
look at the Asian games, they really beat India fair and square. But in the Tokyo games, they
Yes.
were like completely sort of pedestrian. So let's see how they are able to kind of work because they are really a very very good squad and hopefully they should do well. But Korea, South Korea have always done extremely well
Yes.
at hockey, and they might trouble Germany or Belgium somewhere because Belgium, one thing is they are vulnerable in the group stage. We have always seen, you know, they have had one or
Yeah.
two matches they lose, you know, 1-0 to a very odd kind of a team. So probably that is a kind of a chance. But again, Belgium and Germany should move past. Don't think, but that Belgium Germany pool match, the league match, will be
Yeah.
fascinating.
In fact, that gives opportunity to Japan and South Korea as well because of the crossover round. So,
Right.
if our listeners do not know about how the knockouts work, the first place team in every group goes to the quarterfinals, whereas the second and third from each group will go to a crossover round, which is somewhat like a round of 16.
Okay.
And that gives a very interesting opportunity for Japan and South Korea, to just squeeze into those knockouts and maybe upset another team in the crossover round.
You seem to be a big fan of Morocco in football, I guess. You know, you suddenly are getting all sorts of
Yeah.
inspirations.
Talking about football and the World Cup, of course, we have to talk about Belgium because their golden generation came back with nothing in football, but in hockey they are the Olympic champions, the world
Yeah.
champions. They won a pro league season, but now is the age coming catching up to them because they have the most experienced squad, but they also uh, a lot of people maybe above the age of 30. So thoughts on
Yeah.
them?
Pretty interesting, and you're right. So probably they have sort of come again to that peak, and then now
Yeah,
stagnating or sort of going down, because somewhere down the line, Belgium have not really been able to get as much as new young graduates from the junior team,
yeah.
as much probably maybe a France or a South Africa or some other teams have done that. So probably that might just hurt them. But Belgium, they are a fantastic team. Sometimes they do have an odd up and down in the pool games, but hopefully they should make it to the knockout rounds. Shouldn't really be that much of a problem, but they might have to work a bit harder.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got guys like Tom Boone and Hendricks in your arsenal who just smash the ball into the net with their drag flicks, especially Hendricks. I mean, he is
Yeah,
a contender for the most goals scored in this tournament. You could
I
see
mean,
him on top of that list.
exactly, yeah. And what you said is right. The power, you
Yeah,
can actually make out the difference just by the thud on that goal post. You realize
yeah,
ki how hard it was. The modulation of that thud is enough to
yeah.
tell you what was the power in it.
Definitely. And talking about this other team in the group, the Germans, they've had a
Hmm.
very exciting year under coach Andre Henning, who joined them last year. They lost only 4 or 5 matches, out of which some of the matches they sent their developmental team. So with
Right.
the main team, you can say they've lost only 3 4 games all year. And they have an addition of Gonzalo Pelat in their team, who moved from Argentina to Germany, who changed nations. So when we were talking about Argentina, I wanted to get this point that they've lost two key players in Meneni and Pelat, who joined
Ballad, yeah.
Spain, and Pelat, who joined Germany because of some internal issues with the team. But
Hmm.
Germany have a great penalty corner unit as well, and I can't wait for that fixture to happen and to see who goes direct to the quarterfinals, because that gives, and who comes second, because the one who comes second goes to the crossovers, and
Correct.
that
And,
brings
and
up some
yeah,
interesting fixtures there.
I have a feeling that Germany might just go straight away to the quarterfinals, and Belgium might
Yeah,
have to go to the crossovers. Also, the fact is, Germany, if you just, I'll take you back to that bronze medal match, India versus
yeah,
Germany, Tokyo. If you just look at that, in the first two quarters, Germany were very, very dominant. But in the
yes,
next two quarters, after halftime, they seem to sort of disintegrate, where India took the advantage and then, sort of got that thing. So that is something which Germany will have to be careful when they are playing slightly bigger nations. And we'll have to see how they kind of perform in these conditions.
definitely. And moving on to big nations, Group C, we have the Netherlands. Such a rich history of hockey. Have medaled at almost every event. Their women's team, in fact, dominate the sport. I think they are the most dominant
Yeah.
sporting team in history of any sport. You can call them that. The Netherlands are joined by New Zealand, who were recently here in India for the FIH Pro League a couple months ago. Another challenging Asian team who's always troubled India, Malaysia, and the debutants, Chile, who we mentioned earlier. So, thoughts on
Yes,
Group C?
very interesting. Netherlands have a very good path there, but New Zealand are going to be very, very, in fact, hard to beat, because New Zealand may not really be a very, very skillful side. They may not be very aggressive, but they are not tenacious. That's the issue with them.
Yes.
And beating New Zealand is not an easy job. But Chile is very interesting to see, just like France and South Africa that we were discussing. Their junior team had come down to Bhubaneswar last year for the Junior World Cup,
Yeah.
and they did pretty well. They had a very interesting experience, and that has sort of helped them. Again, they are very strong lads, which really helps them in the physical fitness. So probably that will help them. But I do see Netherlands and New Zealand sort of going ahead. Netherlands probably making a direct entry, and then probably Chile if they find form, but New Zealand might just go into the crossover rounds.
Yeah, and talking about New Zealand, in fact, they are coached by South African Greg Nicol, who was a
Hmm.
prolific goal scorer back in his day. He holds the record for the most goals scored in the Commonwealth in a single Commonwealth Games, and Greg Nicol has uh, inculcated his culture to the news inside the New Zealand team, because he's all about attack, goals,
Yeah.
high pressure, and that's a really attractive form of hockey which I enjoy. And I spoke to him a few times when he had come over during the Pro League, and he tells me he wants the spectators to enjoy his hockey. So if anyone's watching the World Cup, tune in to If not, you have to watch the World Cup. It's happening in India, but tune into one of the New Zealand games as well because they are a goal machine. They do concede a lot as well, but that's the beauty of the sport. Things can change
Yes.
so quickly.
Yes, legendary name that you have mentioned, the coach, the South African coach, has really brought about a different shade. So we talk about
Yeah,
baseball in England. Now it's like the South
yeah,
African flavor in the New Zealand camp as far as hockey is concerned. So that's going to be very interesting, and I think New Zealand will be very, nicely be able to bundle up Chile and Malaysia in that particular group, and that's the reason why they are a match with Netherlands. That's going to be a very interesting one.
yes.
We were talking about the Belgium Germany clash, the New Zealand Netherlands clash is also going to be very interesting.
Yes, because Netherlands have come up with a very inexperienced squad. If you see, it's a very young squad.
Yeah.
I think 11 of them are playing their first ever major tournament. Not even first World Cup, first ever major tournament. So that's a very interesting side to look at. They are a rich they have a rich history in hockey, but
Yes.
a team that is so young, but they have an experienced coach, and some of the players like Thierry Brinkman and the goalkeeper Pierre Black is the best in the world. So they are an exciting team to watch out for. Maybe stray away from them in the quarterfinals because Netherlands always turn up when it's clutch moments.
Absolutely. And you mentioned about the goalkeeper. I think this World Cup or any World Cup is always about goalkeepers. You'll find the experienced ones doing exceedingly well, and there will be new heroes created from goalkeepers of different teams. So keep an eye on all the goalkeepers.
Definitely. And when you talk about goalkeepers, it reminds me of England, and that brings me to Group D because it's India, England, Spain, and Wales. And why I mention England is because they have two 22, 23-year-old keepers in
Yeah.
Ollie Payne and James Mazzarello, who are very exciting players to watch. Ollie Payne, in fact, he came into the Tokyo Olympics side and then just took over that number one spot against keepers who are so experienced, and then since then he's been a mainstay in that England team. So your thoughts on this group and England especially?
To see, talking about the three lions, I think it's going to be a similar situation like Netherlands because nine of their players are playing the World Cup for the first time. They're going to debut, if I'm not mistaken, England, and that's going to be interesting because they are a very interesting nation, but they have been slightly inconsistent. They are
Yeah,
aggressive, very rapid on occasions, and sometimes probably they're not able to match up to the opponents. So that it will be a very good experience for them as far as this particular group is concerned or this particular World Cup is concerned, and their match with England is going India. In fact, is going to be very exciting. But England will really have to work hard because beating Wales still might be fair enough. Beating Spain for England would be a very interesting challenge. And Spain this time have come up with a very new team. In Tokyo they had a
yeah,
lot of veterans. So that was very interesting. They had the Cortes, their goalkeeper, who was a veteran. Delas de Andres, the captain. Now all of them have gone, and we have a new team. So Spain are a new team. England will have a very interesting. So the England-Spain encounter is going to be very interesting. But England will really have to work hard because it's not going to be very easy at all.
yes, but England in recent days have really picked up pace. They had a very impressive pro league games last month. They won all four of them, three of them in shootout, but they were also really good against Australia in the
Yes.
Commonwealth Games. I think that is a match people must watch. What a game that was, the semi final. Both keepers were on their toes throughout the game. They made some lovely saves, but you did mention about Spain and them bringing a young squad. They are, in fact, the youngest squad in the World Cup when you talk about average age. And
Correct.
but their coach is not young to this sport. He is a legend, Max Caldas. What a coach! I mean, he's been in this game for quite some time. The Argentine, he himself has played hockey for a long time, and now he's coaching these young Spanish bulls, you can say, to
Yes.
glory.
Absolutely. Spanish Bulls, Red Stakes, whatever you want to call them. It's a very interesting situation, but Spain will have a tough time or a challenging time, because they will need their youngsters to really gel well
yeah,
very, very quickly. Because if you see, Enrique Gonzalez, maybe with 162 caps, their captain Alvaro Iglesias with 189 caps, and that's it. So you don't have a lot of experienced guys in that particular squad. So it's going to be fun for them. But I don't see Spain dominating, because over the last few
yes.
years Spain hasn't really been very, very dominant on the world scene.
That's true, but dominance just reminds me of Harmanpreet Singh and his drag flicks. You know that's a goal when when the referee signals a PC for India, because Harmanpreet has been so lethal, and he is the two-time FIH Player of the Year. He's been scoring goals left, right, and center. Goalkeepers are scared of him, you can call it. And thoughts about India and Harmanpreet, who is our captain this time?
Very interesting. And I know that brings about the spotlight on Harmanpreet, but that is going to help Manpreet a lot, because Manpreet
Yeah,
is another very dangerous player. So I think this Indian squad, why is it very interesting and very lethal? Because you have a lot of all-round players. We have Shamsher and Hardik also going up and scoring goals. We also have Harmanpreet doing that. Suddenly, in fact, we have some very interesting young players. Mandeep suddenly gets in. So it becomes difficult for the opposition to kind of mark it out, because earlier the tactics was, okay, you mark out the 3 4 guys who are
yeah,
probably going to play. But this time the Indian squad for the past 24 months has been going berserk, and that is what has helped. So Harmanpreet suddenly goes well ahead quickly with the drag flicks. The falling back of the Indian team is something which Graham Reed is also working on. He does say that we are a very aggressive team, and that puts pressure when we fall back in the counter.
yeah.
But I think that is some area which probably India needs to be careful about. But Harmanpreet, definitely, you mentioned, and that whole old problem of who will do the drag flick, penalty pe goal nahi ja
Yeah.
raha hai, that's sort of gone. And again, India today is not only dependent on penalty corners. The field goal percentage has really gone up, and that too with the reverse hits and the deflections. They have
Yes.
become more precise, which makes India a very difficult side to beat.
When you talk about those reverse flicks and deflections, it reminds me of Abhishek, who
Yeah.
has just come up into the team last year, and he scored some lovely goals. He crisps through the midfield. He has some lovely touches. He has a good chemistry with the team. And I love that Graham Reed is building that with our young players, especially with Mandeep, who
Yes.
we know is such a lethal player. He's been in the team for long. And the best and funniest part about Mandeep is the first 3 quarters he might not be as much as into the game, but when it comes to fourth quarter, he will definitely
Exactly.
score a goal.
And then he's sort of the guy who just keeps in the shadows, and people don't realize, ये क्या है, कुछ नहीं, ठीक है, चलो इसको adjust कर लेंगे.
Ah,
And then suddenly he goes up, and that's why even someone like a Vivek Sagar Prasad from the midfield, Manpreet from the midfield,
yeah.
they are creating so many opportunities nowadays from all sides of the circle. That has made India a bit dangerous. And maybe India probably is not able to earn as many penalty corners whenever they are making the
Yeah.
circle entry. Probably that can just help out. But overall, with the crowd behind them, I think this Indian team is extremely dangerous. Of course, with Shrijesh as the wall, it also helps us to stop conceding a lot of goals, and that just adds on to the whole thing.
Yes, but Srijesh is no more the only wall we have, because Christian Pathak, who was his backup, you can say, is now giving in performances like a top goalkeeper. He has been
Correct.
exceptional, and a lot of people have also been asking if he should start over Srijesh, historic, who is making a historic feat this World Cup. He's playing his fourth World Cup, which is wow. I
Huge.
mean, he's been around for quite some time.
The best part about Srijesh is that he is very still young at heart. I was just watching a reel that was made, and he was dancing, and his dancing is, how it is amazing. And the kind of jive that he had just helps him to be agile even at this particular age. I remember Krishan Pathak being very sloppy in the first couple of games that he played. He was very, very nervous. He conceded a couple of goals, but then he has also really evolved very well. What this Indian
Yes,
team is doing, the boys are doing, they're kind of helping each other so much so. It's like the bromance is really
yes.
taking this to, to the next level.
And Shrijesh Anna is at the heart of all that bromance and love between
Yes.
the team.
I mean, just imagine
And
him dancing. Just imagine him sitting on top of the crossbar. I mean, he can do anything.
I that is one of the most iconic moments in Indian history. The medal after 41 years, Srijay sitting on the
Yeah.
top of the crossbar. I don't think I will ever forget that image in my lifetime. So, but India also have a very challenging opponent in Wales who are making their debut at the World Cup. People are sleeping on them because they are debutants, but
Yeah.
they have some really experienced players who've played with Great Britain before uh, at the Olympics, and they've done quite well.
Yes, Wales is a very interesting team, and we have to be careful. But what India has done is that of late, whenever they are playing the slightly smaller nations, they haven't taken them lightly. Graham Reed has
Yeah,
inculcated this whole thing, which has really helped us. Earlier, it was like, I've seen a couple of matches. One was an Olympic qualifier in Delhi at the Dhyanchand Stadium where India was playing against Singapore, and we were just going on pumping goals, and so that complacency used to set in, but that probably is not the case now. But yes, Wales is a very interesting side, and that's why the match between England and Wales and Spain is going to be very interesting. If Wales are able to beat Spain, then they have a very good opportunity to sort of push England out of that second spot and move into the crossovers, which will be a great deal for them.
definitely. And I can't wait because it's just 2 days away before you will be commentating at the Raurkela Birsa Munda International Hockey Stadium, where India take on Spain on the opening night. Of course, here in Bhubaneswar, the matches will be starting a bit early on 13th. We have the first match at 1 p.m., then a 3 p.m.
Okay,
match. Uh, then we move on to Raurkela for the 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. games. So those watching, you've got four matches almost every day, starting at 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 7 p.m., and 9 p.m. So keep that in mind. Log on to Star Sports, Hotstar, whatever stream you can find, because this World Cup is going to be epic.
absolutely. Yes, you can find me on All India Radio wherever you can tune in, and that's going to be very interesting. But Yashodhan, I hope the weather out there is also really very, very pleasant for this beautiful game called hockey.
Definitely. I've been here in Bhubaneswar for some time now, and it's nice, chilly weather, and the players are enjoying it. Especially, I think it's helping the European teams a bit, but they are happy about it. But they are loving the treatment, all the love from the hockey fans here in Odisha because hockey है दिल मेरा और क्या.
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल। भुवनेश्वर और राउरकेला तो दुल्हन जैसे सजे हैं, ये तो हम देख ही रहे हैं। द काइंड ऑफ ट्रेडिशनल वेलकम, द काइंड ऑफ ऑफ फील्ड एक्टिविटीज, दे आर जस्ट ब्रिलियंट एंड आई थिंक हॉकी हैज़ रियली टेकन अप एंड दिस इज़ व्हाट वी वर ऑल वेटिंग फॉर।
Definitely, and I really hope that Hockey India and the government of Odisha keep continuing this what they are doing for the sport,
Yes,
which was somewhat a lost cause in the middle, but they've revived our sport, our glory, and hopefully on the 29th evening of January, we are on the podium there in the final.
एब्सोल्युटली, डेफिनिटली। आई मीन आपके मुँह में घी शक्कर यशोधर।
Thank you so much, Pankaj. We will be listening to you tomorrow on the 13th and the 15th when you commentate for All India Radio. And do follow Sports Khabri because we are bringing some great articles and interviews for you from the Hockey World Cup live in Bhubaneswar. And now we have a friend here, Pankaj, who's going to be in Raurkela as well. So do tune in and hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू, स्पोर्ट्स खबरी। थैंक यू, यशोधर।